Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us this week in America and the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network. Great to have you with us on the program today. Talking about the new book, A Journey to Oneness. Rasha is our guest on the program. A Journey to Oneness, of course, the long-awaited sequel to the runaway spiritual classic, Oneness. Rasha, welcome to This Week in America, a fascinating book, and great to have you with us on the program.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you today.
So many great ideas, and I want to talk about that. And let's start going back on your life, because you were an accomplished professional writer for years, international career as an advertising copywriter, a 5-year stint as a Nashville songwriter, country music lyricist, published a children's book, and then something happened that changed you back in 1987. Let's go back a bunch of years, a couple of decades there, and talk about that. What happened at that point that actually changed your life?
Very unexpectedly, I heard a voice on a beautiful day that whispered, "I love you," and I realized it wasn't my thought. Those were the days when the idea of channeling had just barely hit the public awareness, so I was clueless as to what was happening. But I started a very lucid conversation in my mind with a presence that was so wise and so extraordinary, and I went on to just take a yellow legal pad and write down whatever came into my head in the days that followed, and then read it afterwards with tears streaming down my face, knowing I never could have written words like that.
Well, you mentioned those were in the early days when you were telling people, family members and friends, what you were experiencing at the time. What was their reaction?
I was not talking about this.
Okay. Probably just as well back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, this was in the late 80s that this started, and this was not the kind of thing that people talked about, although it was so fascinating. And I realized that a whole other world was going on right here in the here and now. It blew my heart chakra wide open and changed my life. Totally.
How did it change your life? And this was in 1987 when this started. We'll jump up here in a few minutes to February 1998. But in the interim, as you're getting these messages and you're going, I don't know where this is coming from, but this is really impactful. How did it change your life during that 10, 11-year period?
I was receiving information about the structure of reality, of how we create the life that we live. I know this has gone on to become popularized in a very rudimentary way, but I was receiving some very detailed instructions on how to shift my own circumstances, and I was applying that information with astounding results. So it was extraordinary. I realized I was a living guinea pig for these teachings, which then I went on to transcribe the book Oneness many years later, which was a tome of information on a subject. And again, I was living the book as I was writing it.
Our guest on the program is Rasha. The new book is out, A Journey to Oneness. The website, an excellent one, is onenesswebsite.com. Information on the book there, and we'll talk in a bit about all the emails and the other information that you can get there as well. After the book came out, the original book came out, Oneness, which I mentioned was just a runaway success done basically by word of mouth, people reading it, changing their lives, and doing what you encourage them to do, which is, okay, take the book and then pass it on to other people. Take what you're learning from various chapters and pass on to other people. This was what to do A Journey to Oneness has been, you describe as like a 7-year process to get everything formulated to write this book.
It was. A Journey to Oneness is the 7-year period of what I consider to be my spiritual journey, when I realized, as I was transcribing the teachings of Oneness, that I was on quite an extraordinary joyride.
Yes.
From the heights to the depths and everything in between. And I was writing it all down with not any idea of why I was doing it. I was just jotting notes on my day, and one would come in the evening, and we'd talk about it, and I would get some profound advice, so I'd write that down too. And then I just filed it all. 3,000 pages later, I was told, and by the way, you're going to be writing a book about this. And I said,
wow,
forget it. That's personal. And so we talked about that for a couple of years, of how this was important. And I realized, as I read these teachings, that this wasn't just for me. This was for the world, because oneness has gone on to lay out the information that we need to get through these times triumphantly and with grace and with humor.
Talk about the concept of oneness. What exactly are you talking about here?
Yeah, I asked that question too. What is oneness? I said, and the answer I got was interesting. They said, as the drop of water is to the ocean, that is what oneness is. And so I kind of pondered that. If you ask the drop what it is, it can only answer, we're ocean. So the essence of oneness is the essence of the all that is, but it's not the whole thing. What comes through me is the essence of what's inside all of us at a step-down level that's vibrationally what a human being could hold, the energy of it. You are not connecting with the absolute, which is, beyond comprehension, although the essence is the same. So people ask me, is this God? And I have to say, yes, that's what this is, although in a form and at a level that we can digest it, that we're able to resonate to that. And ultimately, the journey takes you into a level of your own self where you actually shift into that level and you experience yourself as that. You're looking through those eyes, and the world looks different.
The book is A Journey to Oneness. Our guest on the program is Rasha. The website is onenesswebsite.com. Of course, you can link on to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on and get all the information on the book. Many people waiting anxiously for the book to come out. It has just been published. And you mentioned the self-discovery aspect, and that's something that runs throughout the entire book. And what you describe is, for yourself, the adventures of self-discovery. And I'm assuming we all go through that. And do we ever get to the point where we finally discovered everything, or is it an ongoing process?
I think it's an ongoing process of unfoldment. It's an expansion. You just become more and more of that. And your eyes become more and more open. You become very aware. And you let go of a lot of the preconceptions that most of us walk around with. You tend to become more accepting of how things are and less invested in being right and how we think life is supposed to be. It makes us more adaptable and gives us the resilience to be able to deal with what life is throwing at us in these changing times.
Well, yes, we're getting a lot thrown at us in changing times. You talk in the book, Journey to Oneness, about 9/11. Were you able to try to make some sense out of a totally senseless act?
Oh, my God, yes. Actually, there's a huge teaching in the book on the significance of 9/11, what it was about. This is about the release of energy, about the release of density. And as with all monumental occurrences like that, be it tsunamis or wars or any of this is nothing more or less than the expression of energy seeking release. Some of it is devastating, but when you think about it, if this had not occurred, it could have been so much worse. There's horrific things can happen, but if we infuse the positive energy of our understanding in every moment, then we are adding to the equation the positivity that it takes to shift these kinds of energies in a healthy way so that the release of them is gentle. That's the opportunity in understanding what's really going on here from a perspective of energy and how we really can make a difference by putting the good stuff out there too and not focusing on fear. It's so easy to get sucked into the temptation of fear when scary things happen.
Yeah, especially when it doesn't make any sense. Like I say,
Exactly.
a senseless act, and it's like trying to make some. We always try to make some sense out of it, and sometimes you can't do that. And again, the 9/11 is discussed very explicitly in the book, A Journey to Oneness. Rasha is our guest on the program. You also talk about Coming back from India, and we'll talk about your different locations. You live in India as well as in New Mexico. Coming back in early 2003, that was really a volatile time back here. We are just about on the verge, possibly had gone into Iraq at the time. And you talk about the inevitability of that showdown between forces of light and darkness.
Yeah, that was around the time that we were right on the brink of the war with Iraq.
Yes.
It was about to happen. And you could feel it in the air. You could feel that something was shifting. The teachings gave me the understanding that I needed not to get sucked into feelings of doom and gloom, to realize that this, too, is part of a transitioning that we are going through as a human race, as a world populace. We are shifting into a higher variation, a higher octave of who we really are. And in order for that to happen, energy needs to be expressed, and things that we think are permanent need to give way to what's coming, which is better.
One of the many topics in the book is how shifting the collective mindset can heal our world. Are you hopeful that we can get through this? I mean, we're just seeing total acts of devastation one after the other throughout the world. Do we have a chance of reversing this?
Absolutely. If people realize that their vote counts, and when I say your vote, this is the energy you put forth with every word, with every gesture, not giving into fear, not adding to the negativity, but being hopeful that this is a sign of a clearance to come. There was a wonderful quotation from my first book, The Calling, that said, before a skyscraper can be built, you have to level the ground. I've never forgotten that. So when you level the ground, you're doing away with something that was, and that can look like a bunch of rubble. It can look pretty scary. But in order for something that serves us appropriately to happen, the old has to give way to the new. That's what these times of change are about vibrationally. So if we can keep that into perspective, when the headlines get scary, I think that we will make the highest possible contribution we can to bringing forth what we're destined to be experiencing in human form in these times, which is something very wonderful.
When you look at the website, onenesswebsite.com, you've got testimonials, comments from people that have read the book, that get on and subscribe to the emails, that type of thing. And they talk about the application in family, work, and in society. So basically, if somebody's listening to the program and they're thinking, okay, what is my takeaway from this? How is this going to make me better? It actually can impact in a very positive way the various different aspects of your life.
Absolutely. And there's some wonderful free series that people can sign up for. They can get emails with gorgeous photographs and quotations from these books, absolutely free, just by going to the website, onenesswebsite.com.
Yeah,
and signing up.
Yeah, you'll be getting regular email updates. It gives you all sorts of information. And again, you ask it, this is free for people to take, and you just say, sort of, take this, absorb it, and share it with other people.
Yeah, that's how the book Oneness has been spread from friend to friend all over the world. I was hiding in India most of that time. I wasn't doing radio shows like this in those days. This is a book with a destiny of its own. And this new book is light years beyond that. It's unbelievable as I read it. I'm thinking, my God, I couldn't have written that. There's no way.
Well, you talked about, as you're sitting down to do this, you have mountains of writings, and you were saying, you had 3,000 pages, so I guess you did, and that would be an intimidating task in itself to try to go back and to organize and to condense this into the book, which is A Journey to Oneness, available now. Go to the website, onenesswebsite.com. Rasha is the author, our guest on the program today. And we've got a couple minutes left in the show. Let's talk about where you are now, because you spent, some time in India, some time in New Mexico, and you talk about in a lot of silence, and that's something that scares people. Why are we afraid of silence? And you think sometimes maybe if we had more silence in our lives, we could hear these messages and absorb and actually be better people.
Well, there's surely nothing to be afraid of silence. What you're after, what there is to have, is inner peace. You want to get to the place where you can be in your heart, in your life, and not be so much in your mind and in worries and in all the things that life throws at us. When you go into silence, it's a deep breath. It's like, okay, it's peaceful in here. When you can get to that place, be it through meditation or prayer or whatever pleases you, whatever way you want to, I don't want to say reach out, I would say reach in. You can shift yourself into another level of your own being that will give you the tools you need to take this to the next level and to understand what humanness can be. And I am told this is the birthright of all of us, not just 1 in a million who've gone to India and really went for it like I did. This is for everybody to do, even in the midst of your busy day.
Well, and
Take
then
a minute.
the nice thing about your book is you mentioned, yeah, we can't all go to India, take the time, sit there and try to think through and make some sense of this. You've done that for all of us, and it's in the book, A Journey to Oneness. Got about 30 seconds left in the program. Let's shift back again a couple of decades ago. As you were traveling the country as an advertising executive and advertising copywriter, you were working on music at the time. Did you ever think you would reach this point in your life where you had this total peace?
Oh my, never in a million years. My life was utter chaos in those days. And it's as if you become someone else. You become who you really are. You're looking at the world through the eyes of oneness. I'm living proof. I am the least likely person to have done it. I did it crawling down the spiritual path on my hands and knees a lot of the time. But it's definitely possible. And it's worth having that experience as part of your adventure here in physical form.
Let me ask you, I guess this would be the ultimate test. You are traveling now. Traveling will test the patience of all of us. Are you able to retain that tranquility as the airline is trying to shuffle you from point A to point B and have your baggage end up at about the same time?
That's the challenge. The testing never ends, you know. But you develop a sense of humor.
And you need that. And you need that. Rasha has been our guest on the program. The book is A Journey to Oneness. It is out. It is available. It's at her website, onenesswebsite.com. It's available across the country as well. Information on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You can link on and get that information direct from Rasha's website, onenesswebsite.com. Also at the website, a lot of great information there, free information. You've got the email that you can sign up for, a lot of good things there that I think will make your life a better one. Rasha, thank you for joining us on the program. Great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
You're welcome. You're listening to This Week in America on the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network.